Tonight, Alireza Nader. He's a senior international policy analyst at the RAND Corporation. And Alireza, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
The Revolutionary Guard has such enormous control, and you experience it here when you go to the nice neighborhoods and you see the businesses there, and obviously you see it through this entire economy. Why do they have so much power?
Well, it's because the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei has relied on them to consolidate power. He's relied on the Revolutionary Guards to crush his opponents. In 2009, the Guards played a major role in preventing Mir Hossein Mousavi from becoming president. And in this election, they're going to play a major role in making sure their guy becomes a president. And if it's not their guy, that whoever is president really listens to them. And so this is Khamenei's tool to maintain his power in Iran, given all the challenges he's facing.
And what does it mean for the election, you think, Alireza? I mean, I know obviously the mayor of Tehran, Mohammad Khalibaf, is very closely linked to the Revolutionary Guard. Do you think he's the one for sure that they want, or who else would they be all right with?
Right. Well, that's not very clear, but I think the government's strategy has been to engineer the election. And this is a term the Revolutionary Guards themselves have used. They wanted to engineer the election to make sure only certain candidates emerge, that these candidates are not threatening to the system. Ghalibaf is not threatening to the system. Jalili, the nuclear negotiator, is one of them. Hassan Rouhani, not as much, but again, we have to remember when President Khatami, the reformist, was in power, the Revolutionary Guards did a lot to constrain his ability to change Iran's direction domestically and in terms of foreign policy. So if whoever is president, he's going to have his hands relatively tied by the Revolutionary Guards if they don't really like what he's doing.
And Alireza, what's been amazing here looking at the impact of the sanctions is, you see food prices have surged, and that has hurt regular Iranians who have been, complaining to us about how painful it is to them. And yet you see at the higher end, sure, sanctions are biting, and the currency restrictions on July 1st will impact some of those luxury cars we're showing you are still so readily available. But yet you can go to Bulgari or Escada or all these nice fancy restaurants, and it seems a lot of the wealthy, who are part of the Revolutionary Guard are doing absolutely fine. And in fact, maybe even better than before, because there's a black market and they're being forced to develop new industries, and that's just more opportunity for them. So sanctions won't work unless that power group is affected. Are they being hurt or helped?
Well, the wealthiest Iranians are not going to suffer as much. It's going to be the poor. The poor are going to get even poorer. So the population is really bearing the brunt of sanctions. But at the same time, the regime is also feeling the pressure. Look, the Revolutionary Guards were dependent on oil revenues during Ahmadinejad's presidency, and oil revenues have declined. Their budget is dependent on that. So we can't say that the Revolutionary Guards are not hurting. It's just not as obvious at this point. And if the nuclear crisis and the impasse continues year after year, the Revolutionary Guards are going to feel it. I think that even those very close to Khamenei are very aware that Iran faces a crisis, and this crisis affects everybody and not just the average Iranian.